And we're live, ladies and gentlemen, back with more podcast live taping action. It's the weekend, which means more live podcasting action from our virtual podcasting studio. We have 3 guests lined up this weekend. Let's begin with our first guest on the NFT Asia Podcast. My guest today is Chen Jiayin, co-founder of Screen Art Media, curator, and creative producer, formerly based in New York. Now she's back in Taipei. Our talking points today will focus on NFTs, comparison to art market, NFT industry, 1,000 true fans theory, NFT bubble, and so much more. I hope you enjoy this wide-ranging and fascinating conversation. And here's a short intro before we invite her into our podcast virtual studio. Chen Jiayin is the co-founder of Screen Art Media, curator, and creative producer. This will be a dress rehearsal, possibly for maybe Asia's first ever Chinese language NFT podcast in the future. I'll maybe get more opportunities to practice my rusty Mandarin and post some NFT questions to her in future in a mother tongue, yeah? And she has worked in museums, art fairs, and multiple art institutions. She has extensive knowledge of artists and designers from different disciplines, ranging from traditional media to moving image and immersive technologies. She won the open call by National Taiwan Museum of Fine Arts in 2015 and curated group exhibition, The Real Thing. I'll get to ask her later on whether this was inspired by Faith No More's breakthrough album by the same name. And of course, all of these exhibitions feature really great new media art. She's also the co-founder of online art bilingual magazine Screen, which is a platform that's focusing on the dialogue between art and technology. In 2016, Screen is the finalist at NYFA, which stands for New York Foundation for the Arts, Art Business Incubator. Her past curatorial projects had showcased artists in New York, Miami, Taipei, Busan, Beijing, and Berlin. She also writes about artists and art market. And her writings have appeared in publications including the Art Newspaper China, Taipei Biennial, Artnet, Artist Magazine, Artco, Art Trade Journal, etc. So without further ado, let's welcome Chen Jiayin onto our podcast stage. Hi, Jiayin, can you see me?
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me, Wayne. I love your work. It's great to chat with you.
And it's great to have someone from Taipei gracing our show, gracing our event. It's always great to meet new friends on our podcast network. And of course, this is a great way for me to also get to find out more about what you do. And I think it's an opportunity for us to maybe even find out some of your interesting projects that in the pipeline. So maybe we'll start off and kick things off with our first question for you. Let's do a little history here. And before we jump into what you're currently doing now, maybe talk to us about what brought you down the blockchain and then the NFT rabbit hole.
Yeah, of course. So I have wear like so many hats. I'm a curator and also art writer. And in 2015, I co-founded Screen. You just mentioned very kindly this bilingual platform that we are dedicated to focus on artists who use technology to create art and its art market. So I think art and technology has always been my focus, although it seems more fringed, I guess, before NFT came around. And I remember, like, if you talk to people 5 years ago that, I'm focusing on digital art market, the auction houses will say there is no digital art market. There's very few data in the price database, in the fine art price database. So I think for me, this whole NFT movement has been like a really exciting time for me. I remember the first time I heard about blockchain technology. So there was already quite some discussion, I think, in 2017, that people were talking, this is a possible solution for owning digital work. So I was organizing a panel discussion back then in Taipei, and we were talking about this. And also for myself, I think the first time I ever heard of Bitcoin, actually, it's in many years ago. An artist all of a sudden that I work with asked me, "Oh, can you actually pay me in Bitcoin?" And that really got me like really interested, and I started reading up on it. So it's just went down the rabbit hole.
This is fascinating. I remember, the first time I heard about Bitcoin was when I was working for a startup. I think it was an ICO exchange in Beijing, China at the time. And they insist on paying me in Bitcoin. That was back in 2017 as well. So it's always, many different ways to introduce us to this crypto world, blockchain world. And now NFTs is actually hugely responsible for bringing young people, or even the Generation Alpha, Generation Z, to get more familiarized with blockchain and crypto technology, right? So let's move on to my next question that I've prepared for you, because I think you have walked us through some of your fabulous history, being a curator and writer for Screen. Of course, the first time that you heard about blockchain. Can you maybe educate our audience? Because there are some new listeners as well, and people who are tuning in live on LinkedIn and everywhere else. They still do not really understand what NFT stands for. Could you maybe break it down for them? What is NFT?
Yeah, of course. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. So meaning that in very simple terms, the two items cannot, it's not interchangeable, right? So for example, a Bitcoin it's fungible. So you can trade one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin and you have exactly the same thing. But when we're talking about NFT as a one-of-a-kind digital artwork, is non-fungible. So if you traded your artwork with something else, then you have something completely different. It's essentially a certificate. So it means that you own this digital item. So you can maybe copy or you can duplicate many different copies, but it doesn't mean that you own the work. It solved the problem of provenance, which is very important in the art market. It means that it shows who owned this artwork before you and where this artwork was collected. So because of this technology, NFT, that's why people now can own digital asset, which is unprecedented.
Well explained. Yeah. Yes, please continue.
Yeah, well, when I say unprecedented, it's like on such massive scale, but just a story that a few years ago, of course, there were like collector already collecting like video art or animation. This is something that you can actually collect. But I remember when I interviewed one collector like years ago, he said, oh, so I always, when I purchase a digital work from the gallery, they put it on a Blu-ray DVD for me, and it's in a physical box, and it has the edition that shows that I'm the original owner. And every few years, I actually have to either upgrade the hardware, or I need to just go back to the gallery if I lost whatever physical part of it. So it's a completely different concept now. I think it moved all online. Now there are all these platform gallery popping up that you can just showcase your NFT online. You don't need to store it in the shoebox anymore. Everything just became pretty exciting.
That's fantastic. We already heard a little bit about your past, as a curator, and of course, you're quite active in the art market as well. So you're probably the best person to pick the brains, and to ask you maybe to help us to compare to the art market. How does NFT, actually becomes this new frontier of digital assets, and how does it really compare in terms of to the art market that people are very used to?
Yeah. So my point of view. So when we talk about art market, people always say that art, well, of course, first and foremost, if you collect art, it has like emotional value to you. But if we're just talking about in terms of market value, art has always been a hedge against inflation, and it's also a safe haven through the financial crisis. There is, let me pull this up. So basically, if you look at long term, like 3 decades, 5 decades, the correlation of art with other assets class is basically almost zero. So that's why in some, like the investment bank, when they advise their like ultra high net worth individual, they would advise that these individual can put around 5 to 10% of their portfolio into art and collectibles, because if you already have your asset in all the other asset class, then maybe this is a good place to put your money. So if anything happened, the market goes down, you still have this very precious art that is still appreciating. But of course, like I said, it doesn't mean that everyone should do that. It only applies to the super wealthy people, which we're talking here. It's people who has a net worth of over 30 million. So that's qualified as ultra high net worth individual. So I think this is when we're talking about art as an investment. And why I brought this up, it's because I think NFT was actually born from a very different path than the traditional artwork. It's a sort of how do you say that? It's born from DeFi. The people who are talking about NFT, like this whole thing has been viewed as a market from the very beginning. So there's no such idea like, we should actually, it's a taboo to talk about, art as an investment. It's actually just as an investment. That's why it got so much attention. And within very short time, that artists like Beeple became the world's third most expensive artist alive in the history, which is really remarkable. So I think if you're looking at it from a DeFi perspective, it's also very easy to understand that NFT can also be a hedge against other cryptocurrencies, because the price of the Bitcoin, Ethereum, you can see their price every day, and when the market goes down, basically most coins go down together. But if you are talking about, of course, there are many NFT out there, but some solid NFT project, the OG projects, they can probably do the same as if you invest in blue chip artists.
I think you gave a really great example in terms of the movements, right? And many are very long-term bullish as well. We have seen, even projects that are not really, belonging to the art world. We're talking about NBA Top Shots. They're actually getting a lot of action even during the off season. People investing in that space as well. And we have seen all these 10,000 projects, such as CryptoPunks, right? We have really seen a lot of investment action, and of course, even the floor price have been raising, astronomically just in a couple of months' time. So, every day we see a new 10K project emerging in the scene. But maybe let's not spend, this program and the remaining of this program talking about CryptoPunks or projects like this. We want to pick, your brains more in terms of your, insights as well as your predictions. Can you maybe tell us in terms of NFT as an industry, right? Will it ever become a 100 billion industry?
Yeah, thank you, Wayne. This is a question I've been thinking a lot. But I think it's hard to actually categorize this NFT as an industry. It probably can. But if I'm just looking from my background as in the art market, when we're looking at the art market, the current overall industry is around 60 billion to 65 billion. And it's, as glamorous as it sounds, it's actually a pretty small industry. To give you an example, DeFi has already surpassed 100 billion. And the global jewelry market, it's around 300 billion. The video game industry is around 180 billion. So in that regard, and you also have to consider actually in the art market that all the money is actually a lot from, fewer very expensive artworks. So I think, and also I mentioned the valuation of Tesla right now is 600 billion. So we're actually looking at a quite small industry right now. But this is before NFT. So on this, I'm actually, I think I believe NFT in this as an industry will definitely has a huge growth potential. And that is mainly, I think there's two reasons. One is the digital native generation. I think digital native generation, as everyone knows, we're talking about people who were born and grow up in digital technologies. And in the past many decades already, although the digital art market never went off, but there are just so many artists already using the technology to create art. And why? Because it's just so natural for them. So it's much easier for someone to make films and even take photo with their iPhone than to learn how to use a paintbrush and paint on canvas. So there's already like a great amount of effort and energy spent in digital art, but there's no outlet for commodify or commercialize this part. So now with the NFT, it's become just very natural. I don't need to, have a side gig to support myself as being a digital artist, but I can just sell NFT. So this is totally, I think that's gonna what make the foundation of the industry. If there's more people and there are more artists are creating digital art, it's just only logical that in a not too long or in the long term, we will see that the quality of the NFT art will also go up within time. If some people argue right now, it's, a lot of NFT are not really art, but it's only logical if so many people put their best talent into this sector. Another reason I believe in the NFT market is that it's actually interesting to think about that we are in the middle of the biggest wealth transfer in history. So this is saying that in the next 10 years, there will be equivalent around 16 to 68 trillion dollars of wealth passing from the boomer generation to the millennial and Gen Z. So of course, right now, the people who are holding all the most expensive artworks, are probably a lot of them are Gen X. They are boomers, but they're going to pass on to younger generation, and we are in the middle of it. And for, like I said, a digital native generation, to own something digital just become much more natural. So I totally think that this will also help grow the NFT market.
Let's move on to talk about this 1,000 true fans theory. I think it was proposed by Wired Magazine's senior maverick, Kevin Kelly, back in 2008. I remember back then he stated that in all an artist needs, right, it's 1,000 true fans to maintain a fruitful, if unspectacular career, thereby relieving the artist of the need for some of the nastier things in life as a regular job. So I think this even applies to someone like me who's a podcaster. All I need is basically 1,000 mega podcast fans to make a decent, if not even better living, right? So could you maybe help us to deep dive into this topic of 1,000 true fans theory? What exactly is this 1,000 true fans theory, in your opinion? And how is NFT actually enabling the real pop art movement?
Yeah, I think this is so timely. So the 1,000 true fan theory actually was brought up a long time, many years ago. But the idea of it is just if we actually can create a fan base, and this fan base can support a content creator. So the most important idea is that that you have this strong fan base. And I think with the help of social media and NFT, the whole ecosystem becomes quite complete because you don't really need a broker. You don't really need a gallery. If you have enough fan base on your Twitter, on your Instagram, YouTube, you can just use NFT, and the NFT is your creation to support your career as a creator. So I think what's really incredible about this theory and also the NFT technology is that But right now, people are more talking about how these really expensive NFT works were sold, like in the auction houses in Christie and Sotheby. But I think people will be looking at the volume in very near future, because the volume really is what makes NFT different. In the past, there's, the artist can only paint so many pictures a year. But now with NFT, we can actually create an edition of 1,000, 2,000. And, it's similar to like in the past, when we have this, a musician can sell their albums for $10, for $20, but we can sell millions of copies of the albums instead of just, and imagine in the 17th century, a musician can only play for 10 very wealthy royals in Europe. So I think this is very interesting because we already seen that in the music industry, but not so much in the contemporary art or visual art. Everyone likes Andy Warhol. Everyone likes, but many artists, but it's just never possible to really own part of it. And I think this is the strength of NFT, that it's really under value right now.
Very well said. How about this NFT bubble that many are predicting, or even people like Gary Vee, right? He's saying that just like, the .com bubble burst, the second, wave, in the I think late 2000s. And now with this NFT bubble, right? He expects like maybe 97% of projects to fail, and only maybe 3% will actually thrive and survive. So what's your opinion in terms of NFT bubble? Are we in an NFT bubble? And, do you think that this is going to be something that can be prevented? This is basically how, game theory works.
Yeah, I think we are definitely in a bubble. And I also agree we are still very early, but it doesn't mean that we're not in a bubble. I think a proper analogy is probably, if you think about the Web 2.0 and how company like Amazon actually enable everyone can publish a book very easily. Amazon has made publishing a book becomes just very easy, but it doesn't mean that every book author has a sustainable market. So I think it's the same for the NFT market. It sort of enable a long tail business strategy, and people have limitless options to choose from. But it's still not going to change that there's only going to be very few projects that can succeed in the long term. So I think we're definitely in a bubble. But at the same time, like we were talking a little bit earlier before, there are some great projects. I think they will be here to stay. CryptoPunks, art blogs, these great projects, I believe in them.
I share the same sentiments as well. And before we send you off, I think we are just left with only like 3 minutes with you. Let's do a really quick rapid fire round. So I didn't prepare you for this. Just gonna put you in the corner right now, and these are the rules. Make sure that you give really short and pithy response, maybe one sentence or two maximum. So are you ready?
So I responded like just spontaneously.
That's right. Don't overthink.
Whatever comes to my mind.
That's correct.
Okay, let's do it.
What are your proudest life moments?
I think maybe my son.
What do you want doing less of in 2021?
I'm sorry?
What do you want doing less, in the rest of this year?
Rest of the year. You mean what do I want to do?
Do lesser. Like, for example, I want to do less sitting. I want to do more standing.
Yeah, I definitely want to do less sitting and more running, perhaps more exercise, for sure.
I'm sorry, my speaker just went off for some reason, right? Whenever I'm doing a live taping for NFT Asia Podcast, Bhangra music will come out from my speakers. I think my neighbors probably knows that I'm live streaming, so they're like joining the party by streaming the music over my Bluetooth speaker.
That's funny.
This is like the third time it has happened. I think I have to maybe turn on my power or something. Oh, anyway, we are in the middle of this rapid fire round. Let's continue. Yeah, tell us. Hilarious. What do you want doing more of in the rest of the year?
I wanted to actually go out more, just to enjoy the nature a little bit, and be, not always be home, sitting in front of a monitor.
I think that's what everyone aspire, for the rest of this year. And the second one, what's your advice for NFT artists out there who's listening in or watching this live on LinkedIn and everywhere else?
I think to build your audience is really, really important. Every kind of creator. So if you're an artist, you should definitely pay a lot of effort to your social media channels.
That's very insightful. Your future ambitions or any side projects in the pipeline?
Yeah, there are plenty NFT related projects, and I would love to keep you posted when there's any new announcement coming up.
Fantastic. And make sure you come onto the show next time and announce your new project. Last question, how can people reach you?
People can reach me through my email, LinkedIn, wherever they find me. I'm happy to respond.
Fantastic. What's your Twitter handle?
I think my Twitter handle and my Instagram are both curating things. So if you go on social media and type curating things, you will find me.
Curating things. So I think it's probably appropriate to put it on the screen, and people can go follow you right now. So curating things, I just followed you on Twitter as well. Thank you so much for coming on and spending, over 29 minutes with us on this Saturday afternoon. I think it looks like it's rainy over there in Taipei, and over here in Singapore, I think it's going to rain buckets as well. So this is going to be a not so hot summer day in Singapore, and maybe over in Taipei as well. So any last words or message for our listeners while we're playing this podcast on their AirPods or on their smart speakers later on?
I'm sorry?
Any last message?
I think it's a great honor to speak with you. I really enjoy it.
Likewise. And we hope to see you probably in real life very soon. Maybe when you attend or maybe you have another show or exhibition in New York in the future. Will you be attending NYC NFT, which is happening, I think, on the first week of November?
Yeah, I heard about that. It's a pretty big event. I think everyone is going.
Exactly. So I hope to see you there. And this is going to be a show that we'll be covering for sure. And hopefully you can sit down for a live interview if you're able to travel as well. Let's just keep our fingers crossed that this Delta variant doesn't really go, and spoil our plans once again, like what it did to us last year. So hopefully this year, everything will pan out perfectly. So I look forward to see you very soon, my friend. Please take care. Take care of everyone over there. And say hello to your son as well. Goodbye.
Thank you so much, Wayne. Bye.
Bye-bye. So that's Chen Jiayin, co-founder of Screen Art Media, curator and creative producer. I think she shared really great insights with us today. I'm going to take a short break. I'll actually be back within half an hour for our next live taping or podcast, which is sports related. We'll be talking about football because tonight is going to be the day one of English Premier League's return. And everybody knows I'm a huge Liverpool fan. I don't have Jurgen Klopp coming on the show, but I do have John Dykes, who is a famous sportscaster in this part of the world. He'll be joining us on Sports Gaming Live and talk about Liverpool's chances in the next new season of the English Premier League. So I can't wait to jam with him later on. That's going to happen around 4:30 p.m. So stay tuned for that. See you later on. Bye-bye.